Okay, welcome back to another vid. Happy New Year, 2022. Sounds so futuristic. Cheers. Water. Oh. So yeah, just on a bit of a health kick. Long overdue, quite frankly. Eating so much rubbish for so many decades. It's ridiculous. I need to do something about it. Really piled on the pounds during lockdown. I know many of us did and have done, but yeah, with Thanksgiving and Christmas, living in America as well, bigger portions over here. What other excuses can I come up with for shoving extra food into my greedy gob? But yeah, this year's got off to a really good start when it comes to eating. Or eating healthily, I should say. Yeah, lots of fruit, lots of veg, lots of water, homemade soup, bit of pasta, good stuff really. Not had any junk food at all this year. Can you believe that? Unbelievable. So yeah, no chocolate, no snacks, crisps, fizzy drinks, anything like that. So it is difficult. I'm not going to begin to lie. It really is. But yeah, so far it's the longer time goes on, the easier it becomes. So that's what I've been doing. Also, I've been exposed twice to COVID. 14 days ago, just under, and then about 4 days ago. So I've got a bit of a sore throat. It's another reason why I've got the drink ready. So excuse any coughs, sniffles, all that kind of stuff. It's probably going to happen. It's just a cold. That's what I hope it is. No, it's just a cold. I was kind of feeling this way, a few days before I was exposed to it the second time. So I just think it's that thing which is lingering. And it's frustrating, but it is what it is. So yeah, thanks for sticking with the channel. Sorry for not making a vid for such a long time. You know what it's like. You fall out of the loop, you get out of the habit. Before you know it, the days turn into weeks, the weeks turn into months. And yeah, it's just the way it is. But going forward, it's a brand new year, of course. It's January, the start of the year. Clean slate, fresh page. And I thought, start again. Why not? So I can't promise that video's got to be like every week or every other week. But what I can promise is that I am going to try and get back into it with a bit more regularity, because when you look at my channel, over the last 4 years and a month I guess now, I think I've made just under 50 vids in those 4 years, whereas every year before that I made 50 videos at least per year. So yeah, I've been really slacking. But you know, with work as well, it's really hard sometimes to find the time, and especially during the winter months, extra stuff to do, it's busier. Again, I'm making excuses, aren't I? But this is a pickups vid, and I'm recording this on a new phone. It's called a Samsung Galaxy Ultra 21. It's pretty good. I know a new one's coming out soon, but it is pretty good. I've reduced the quality of the vid, so it's not in 8K like it originally was when I recorded it. And then I recorded it in 4K. I thought it doesn't need to be 4K. So I've kind of lowered it down. If it works, as it should do, then it should be at its lowest setting, but it should still be all right, I hope. Sound as well, for that matter. We'll soon see. So yeah, I've tried to record this vid a few times. It's been a disaster every time. Bad lighting. I recorded it on my old MacBook, or my wife's old MacBook, before I got her a new one last year or the year before. And that laptop, MacBook is on its last legs. It's honestly, it's rubbish. I recorded the vid in full, uploaded it to YouTube on Tuesday, but it was private, and then I watched it before I published it. It was so bad. Honestly, it was like, it was dreadful quality. The sound was all kind of like rickety, and anyway, so I binned it. So I've tried this a few times on this phone, like I say, 8K, 4K. So 100th time lucky. Now we're doing this vid. Hopefully it should all be all right. So it's a pickups vid. Is there anything else I wanted to say? I don't think so. It's just good to be back, and thanks, like I say, for sticking with the channel. To old viewers and maybe new ones alike. So anyway, pickups vid. Behind me, you'll see Area 88. Which was on a previous vid some months ago. Basically, this is UN Squadron, of course, in PAL and American regions. A brilliant game, massively nostalgic. Was it a launch game? I think it might have been. And I absolutely love it. In terms of playability, it's absolutely spot on, and I love it. It's a great game. So speaking of the Super Famicom, let's start with this one, which is Super Castlevania 4. An absolutely essential game for anybody to have if you've got a SNES from any region. And I love the colours there. They're kind of like a dark purple, dark blue, dark purple with silver and grey. Looks absolutely brilliant. The back of the box as well, with that kind of stained glass window effect, looks really nice. And the front box, that's pretty cool. Not him. No, he looks a bit kind of dodgy, to be honest. There we go. Not him. He looks all right, but he looks a bit dodgy. But that there, kind of Dracula. Apologies for the reflection. It's quite sunny outside, and these are in box protectors. So yeah, it's a brilliant game. What more can I say, really? You've all played, I'm sure, Castlevania 4. Graphics are fantastic, playability is really good. And the only thing I guess I will say, well, two things spring to mind actually, is that I got really far on my first go after buying this game. In fact, so far to the point that I thought at one point I was going to finish the game. You know, it was just easy. Now, I wonder if this, I've not Googled this, because, you know, Wikipedia's never lies, it's always right. So, I'm wondering whether the Japanese version of this game in particular is significantly easier than its PAL and American NTSC counterparts. Because they did that sometimes, didn't they? In different regions. I guess certain gamers in certain territories have different tolerance levels to stress on games. So maybe they made the Japanese version easier, and maybe in general Japanese games are a bit easier, I'm not sure. I'm just saying I got a little bit further than I'd ever got on PAL and American versions, so I found that quite strange. I need a swig already. It's not COVID, it's just a cold. And the only other thing I'll say as well about this, and in fact not just this game, but games in general, but this one was $60, I believe, in PAL regions, and again for the American version, you're looking at what, 150? 200 maybe? Has it gone up that much these days? It's a pricey game, and it only seems to be going up as time goes by, but yeah, $60. And that can't be said about the next game that I bought. That is very expensive, but generally speaking, you know, games on the Super Famicom are significantly cheaper. So, and the other thing to bear in mind, if you're thinking of going Super Famicom, is if you're anything like me, now I play predominantly, like 99% of the games I play on the Super Famicom are platformers, side-scrolling beat-em-ups, fighters, shoot-em-ups, those kind of games, which basically, it doesn't matter if they're in Japanese. In fact, the only things which are usually in Japanese are the menu systems. Sorry, not the menu systems, the intros. You know, it's got like text coming down on the screen or going across, whatever, and it's giving you like a backdrop and a story. But you don't need to know that. It's pretty obvious. You just got to rescue the girl, save the day, defeat the bad guys, everyone's a winner. It doesn't matter that it's in Japanese. You know, now if you're into things like RPGs, well, yes, that's going to be a problem if you're buying those for the SNES or Japanese systems in general. But I don't really play those kind of genres on retro systems. On modern ones, yes, but obviously in English. So, yeah, if you're like me and those are the kind of games or genres that you play, then the Super Famicom is probably best for you, to be honest. Then again, it is swings and roundabouts. You know, some games in PAL regions are cheaper than the American version. It's just the way it is. So anyway, let's move on to the next game. Yeah, this was expensive. And I'd say it was around about $185, which is approximately 150 quid, there or thereabouts. But I think it's more expensive in, again, PAL and American regions. And I've seen it go for more in Japan as well, so I think I got a bit of a good deal. So anyway, that game, it's made by Konami, and it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Hero Turtles in Time. I love the box. Obviously got your classic Turtles on the front there. Where's Splinter? I know he's not a playable character, but he should be on the front. Shredder as well. So, and I just love that as well, the colours, so bright. Yellow, turquoise down there. Now this is in really nice condition, and of course, colourful on the back as well. You'll all know what the game is like, side-scrolling fighter, and beat 'em up, call it what you will. And yeah, just fueled with nostalgia. Another one, I remember playing this back in the day. I had it more recently. When I say more recently, I mean, well, probably about 10, 12 years ago, to be honest, maybe a bit more than that, on the PAL format. But yeah, these days buying Super Famicom, I had to get it on the Japanese system, and it's brilliant. Conditions really nice, like I say. Just pleased to have it. Now, there's also on the Switch a new Turtles game coming out. I think it might be coming out on the PS4 as well, probably PC. But I'm sure initially it was just going to be a Switch exclusive. I'm sure I heard that at the time. But so yeah, check that out. Now I can't remember what you call it, unfortunately, but just Google it. You'll figure it out. You'll find it pretty quickly. And it's due out, I think, within the next kind of couple of months, give or take. So if you like this and side-scrolling, you know, 16-bit sort of nostalgia games, then that will be for you. But in the meantime, this should be for you. It's really, really good. I'm sure you all know that. But probably my most expensive game that I've bought for quite some time. Yeah, $180, $185. But you know what? These days it's just a case for me. It's very much quality over quantity. You know, in the past I used to say to myself, oh, I can't afford that. I can't afford to pay $180 for a game. Well, the reality is I could afford it, really, if I wasn't pissing money away on stuff that I didn't really want and didn't really need. because all these little small $5, $10, $15 purchases, you know, all that cumulatively, that's a lot of money. So you just don't buy the games that you're not that bothered about, and instead buy the games that you are bothered about. And alright, the initial outlay, of course, it's a lot, $180, but I'd have spent that anyway, like I say, on half a dozen or a dozen rubbish games. So quality over quantity, that's another kind of New Year's resolution. Although, to be fair, I've done that for a while, but I'm definitely continuing that this year. Now, let's move on to the NES. I don't think there's anything else I want to say there, other than they're two absolute classic games, and you've absolutely got to get them. So, right, okay, it's a bit of a story on this one. So this is on the NES, like I say, and I'd wanted this game for a while. Now, there's a website called pricecharting.com. You should check it out because it's good prices, relatively accurate-ish, for PAL, American and Japanese regions, so covers all bases. And apparently, I've been looking for a while, this game fetches just shy of $100, boxed and complete. But I'd seen a few copies going for around about 120, 140. That's a lottery, isn't it, of eBay? You know, I guess it depends on bidding wars, who's looking at that particular moment in time, what condition, all the rest of it. So, yeah, I'd seen this copy go, and this copy was going for $75, and I was watching it along with maybe half a dozen other watchers. And I was tempted, but I don't know why I was waiting, because I'd seen it go for more. I guess maybe it was coming up to Christmas, and I just thought, you know, tightening the purse strings a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, there's also a couple of this game. Did you see that? Ooh, almost. I'll show you in a minute. Yeah, there's a couple of other copies of this version going, and they were asking for more, and the condition was worse. On these other games, the condition was rubbish. They were creased, and the edges were all knackered. And even those had like a dozen watchers. So for the life of me, I couldn't work out why people were watching that for like $85, $90, but they weren't watching this one or buying it when it was going for like $75 in really good shape. But nonetheless, I waited a little bit, and the seller reduced the price to $65 and then to $55 about a week later. And I thought I've got to, I'll tell you what I thought just there, I've got to have a drink. Scratchy throat. It's a cold, again, remember. So I thought at $55, I've got to buy this, because someone else is definitely going to get it. But just before I did, I had a look at the wording and the listing. I thought, is there something wrong with this? Is it a reproduction? What's the problem? Why is nobody buying this game if it's worth $90 at least, $100 maybe? So half price essentially. So I gingerly kind of pressed the buy now button, and I thought, well, if it is fake, and the seller said it wasn't, it says, oh, genuine game, legit, I've had it for years, all that kind of stuff. I thought worst case scenario is I'll just send it back, because you're covered, really, if you're a buyer on eBay. Happy days. Anyway, that game has arrived, and it's in excellent condition. There's an ever so slight crease on the front, and I'll show you that in a second, and some slight sort of, what's the word, like kind of bowing on the box, but it's nothing too bad. Anyway, longest build-up ever. That game is called Darkman. Darkman, that's a bit racist. Can't be saying that in this day and age. Rename that, please, if you're going to be doing a reboot. I joke, of course, I jest. So yeah, this is based off a movie, isn't it? Darkman. I think there was a sequel as well. Never seen it. I know roughly what it's about. But no, never watched it, but I'm going to have to. Now, the funny thing about this game, let me show you the artwork. I quite like that, actually. It's pretty striking. Where is it? It's just here. You can see there. There's a bit of kind of crease. Oh, it's the other side, of course it is. Yeah, there you go. And it follows the box round there, just under the A of the word warranty. You can see a crease. And apart from that, the bowing is basically non-existent. I can feel the cartridge slightly raised there, but that's not a problem at all. Other than that, it's in brilliant condition. Really pleased with it. Now, here's the thing with the game. Made by Ocean, came out in 1991. You may remember, I doubt it, but you may recall that in my last pickups vid, I showed RoboCop 2. Also came out around about the same time, and also made by Ocean. Basically, Darkman is RoboCop 2. It's the same game. It's the same level layout. It's the same game engine. It looks exactly the same. There's a few screenshots at the back there if you can even work that out. So, yeah, here's the thing. I find it a frustrating experience, I've got to be honest, because it has the same mechanic, even in this game, as RoboCop 2, where when Darkman lands or when he's going along, he kind of slides for a second. Now, that's crucial to not have that feature on a game, because when it's a platformer, it's all about timing jumps to perfection. You've got to be really intricate, and when he's sliding around, even if it's just like a millisecond, it can make all the difference in mistiming your jump. So that's a problem with this game, as it was with Robocop 2. But the main problem that I've got with the game, because it looks nice graphically, it's quite good. Music is really good, very impressive. A couple of tracks in particular, I was like, bloody hell, is this an 8-bit console? It's really nice. The menu system's cool, where it's got Darkman's finger kind of going down the animation, selecting whatever option you choose. That looks really good. So it's well presented, but gameplay-wise, just the mechanics, it's just not good enough. So not just have you got the sliding, like I say, which I guess you can soon get used to in time, but the main problem I've got with the game is when you face an enemy and you've got to fight them essentially, you've got, obviously with the NES you've got 2 buttons. You've got the jump button for Darkman to jump, and then the other one is punch, or it's kick. You can't choose whether you want to punch or kick, so it's whatever the game wants you to do, you do, which is kind of frustrating. And it's predetermined that when you meet an enemy, it's predetermined already that enemy's going to beat you. I think it might be depending on where you land sometimes. So if you jump down or land down off one ledge to another, like at the start of the game, for example, almost straight away, you come across your first enemy. Now, if you just drop down from a rooftop onto the level below, then that's a bad idea, because he'll come towards you and you're near the edge. And you can beat him, but it's kind of randomised, like I say, pretty much predetermined. So if he beats you, he's just got to knock you once or twice, and then you're falling off the edge. So what you've kind of got to do is, when you're at the top of the rooftop, jump over him so you're sort of in the centre of the building, and then even if he hits you, you've got more chance to recover before you get to the edge. But you can hit him first, it doesn't make any difference. You know, if he can then hit you 4 times in a row and you're finished, and there's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't matter if you hit him 3 times in a row. The game kind of decides how it's going to pan out, and that to me is immensely frustrating. But apart from that, apart from the really stressful experience, it's not too bad. But I'm saying that with, of course, rose-tinted, nostalgic, blinkered glasses on, absolutely, because yes, I didn't have this game back in the day, but of course I remember the NES. I didn't even have a NES in the day, but I remember it. I love that era, and so I'm kind of fond of it in a nostalgic way. So I do cut it a lot of slack, definitely turn a blind eye to it. But listen, it's hard to recommend, it really is, unless you're like me and you're just a sucker for nostalgia in terms of the era. But yeah, if this, listen, in PAL regions, if this is like £100 or something, goodness me, I'd say maybe wait, wait, and I don't know, maybe just get the cart or something. I know it's difficult. People always say that, don't they? Oh, don't get it, or just get the cart only. But if you're like me, you want the box, so you have to pay the money. It is what it is. So it's not a terrible game. It's not terrible. It's just, it's average, and the mechanics kind of do spoil it a little bit. You know, which admittedly is a problem when it comes to games. You've got to be able to play them. So next up on the NES, and then we're going to move on to the Switch. We've got a game called Dragon Spirit, and you control, funnily enough, that dragon at the top there, and there's that guy down. But hang on a minute, is that? Look at that guy there, right? Is that the same guy, Simon Belmont? What's going on, Castlevania? The same bloody person. Look at that. Look at him. Can you see that? And then same guy. Unbelievable. That's lazy. In fact, he's almost got exactly the same armour on. I've never noticed that before. That's unreal. So yeah, basically Dragon Spirit is a shooter. Top-down shooter. Like I say, you control the dragon. And music, again, much like I was saying with Darkman, I've noticed this with a lot of NES games actually. The music is really good. And playability's fine. You're obviously limited, again, as I say, to the 2 buttons. So one button will basically shoot all the enemies who are coming towards you. And sometimes annoyingly from behind, as it were. So yeah, you shoot them in the sky with button A, I think it is, and then the other button is to drop the bombs essentially on all the enemies on ground level. And naturally, the same old thing, they release power-ups and they strengthen out your weapon and your power and your health and all that kind of stuff. So it's very obvious what to do. It's a very straightforward, relatively basic game. Came out in 1990, and I think, did this come out on the computers as well? I think it did. I'm pretty certain it did. I'm sure I had it. Maybe on the Amstrad, and then maybe on the ST and possibly Amiga as well. Can't quite remember. But yeah, now the funny thing about this game as well is, I could be making this up, you know, how you remember things that just didn't happen. Mandela effect, maybe. But I played the very first time I played this game, I got quite far. And then the second time I played it, which was 2 or 3 days later, I actually could have sworn that I experienced new levels that I wasn't replaying the same levels that I was first time around. So I'm wondering if the game kind of has some kind of like route to it, like where you can take different routes, go left, go right, and when you do, then for the next level, then, or maybe depending on how quickly you beat the boss, it kind of opens up another level, maybe, and you go down that route on that part of the map instead. I should really have played it a bit more before talking about it, I guess, but I could have sworn that's how it was. Like I said, I was playing it through the second time, and I was like, I don't recognise this level. I did this, and then one of the bosses seemed to come a little bit sooner than it had the previous playthrough, so maybe that's a really nice mechanic they've got in the game, or maybe I'm just giving you absolutely duff information there and misremembering it. Maybe it was the alcohol from Christmas that is forcing me to remember it incorrectly. But either way, playability-wise, very simplistic, but I do like it. It's a good game, and it was cheap. It's the cheapest game I've got out of all those other ones, that's for certain. It was around about $30. So again, you're looking at what, 20 quid, 22, 24 quid, and you can't argue with that. So really pleased to get it. Really liking the SNES, really liking the NES as well, or the NES. And I was going to say Switch. Let's quickly show the one PlayStation 3 game that I've got. Just played this for 20 odd minutes quite recently, and it comes with 2 manuals. Why does it come with 2 manuals? Oh, one's in English, one's in Spanish. Right, fair enough. So that game on the PlayStation 3 is Motorstorm. I think this might have been a release, a launch game. I'll just show you the spines because they might be different. You might be interested. Sometimes they are. What I've noticed or had done a lot in the past, when some of you guys are showing games for the PS3 in PAL regions in the UK basically, and Ireland I guess, and Australia in some cases, I've noticed that there's a lot of white spines in the UK for some reason. Most of the white spines that you've got over there, we have like a coloured variant over here for whatever reason. It's kind of weird how that happens. But yeah, just put it on very, very briefly. I remember playing it back in the day, and it still holds up pretty well. Graphically, it looks all right. And yeah, obviously select your motorbikes, your trucks, your cars, them stock car vehicles. It's a good game. It still plays well. And it's got me, even just the 20 minutes that I spent with it, it's got me wanting to get the other 2 games. I think it was just Motorstorm 2, and then was the Pacific Rift, was it called? And was there another one actually? Apocalypse? So yeah, I can't quite remember, so I'd like to get those as well. So yeah, actually really enjoying the PS3 again, and the 360 to a degree quite recently. Brilliant systems, and that is that. Now, let's move on to the Switch. 2 games to show you. Now, speaking of arcade racing, which Motorstorm is, this is an arcade racer, if ever there was one, and it's Cruise and Blast. And I believe this is a Switch exclusive. So look at this as well, absolutely rubbish, bland, no instructions. That's par for the course these days, admittedly, but no artwork or anything there. So yeah, so this is a very much unrealistic, fast-paced arcade game. It's based off an arcade game, but cleverly, thankfully, what they did for this, for the Switch version, and it's only available for the Switch, I believe, Switch exclusive, but they've added loads of exclusives, like extra courses, quite a lot of them as well, lots of tracks, and also lots of unlockables. You can collect keys, there's different routes that you can go down. There definitely is in this one, as opposed to Dragon Spirit, which I might be just making that up, but there definitely is on this one, so, you know, of course, offers a lot of replayability, if you want to collect the tokens and the keys and unlock new cars, like I say. So, but yeah, completely unrealistic. There's dinosaurs on the level, like set pieces that you kind of sort of semi-interact with, kind of going on in the background. When you're racing in London, like the wheel, the London Eye is kind of going down the streets causing havoc, and you're chasing that. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, completely and utterly unrealistic. But a pick up and play game, because there's no real crashing in the game. You know, it's just a case of hold the accelerator down, picking up the boosts, using the boosts, and then when you kind of sort of veer off track a little bit, the game sort of automatically puts you back on track, a bit like a magnet. It's kind of what it's like. So you can't really fail in that sense. You're not going to be crashing and spinning out, so you're going to avoid all that kind of frustration. So yeah, it's a good game. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's fun. It's just a fun, old-fashioned, old-school 90s game. And I tell you what it's made me want to do. It's made me want to check out the N64 version of Cruis'n USA. I think, did they have was it Cruis'n USA and then Cruis'n USA World Tour? And there might have been another one as well. And I've been looking on eBay, of course, for those, so expect some N64 Cruis'n USA purchases in the very near future. In fact, the N64 in general, bit of a spoiler alert, I've got back into that of late. And yeah, 90s, come on, what can I say, it's nostalgia. But more of that another time. So, yeah, the next on the Switch this is still sealed. And I have got it on the PC. I paid $4 for it. And I've still not played that, quite frankly. Picked it up on a really cheap Steam sale. And this one remains sealed. But I will be playing it soon. I've not bought it to keep it sealed. And it's one of those limited run games. And I don't know if you're aware of limited run, but they release games obviously in a limited run, hence the title. So not many are available, technically speaking. Although I think they've upped the volume in more recent times. But what I don't like, I understand why they do it, but what I don't like is the policy they've got. If you pay up front, and then 6 months later, sometimes longer, you get your game. I don't like that. I think they should either take your money, charge your card basically, when they're about to ship, although, as I say, I understand why they don't do that, or at the very least, ramp up the production levels, because you shouldn't be waiting 6 months or more for games. It's kind of ridiculous. And, it's not even a pandemic thing. I think they were like this beforehand. So it's really frustrating. So anyway, this game, and it's the collector's edition, I believe, and it's called The Takeover. Again, the glare. Next time I'll have to figure that out. Just change the camera around, I guess. So in a slightly bigger box there. And no screenshots on the back, which is pretty ominous. Usually when they do that, it means the game's rubbish. I remember back in the days of my Amstrad with Commodore 64 Spectrum, when cassettes, when they didn't have screenshots, you knew you were paying all right. It was like £2 or something, but you knew it's going to be bollocks. I'm just hoping this isn't. So, but it looks all right. It's obviously a bit of a tribute to a Street of Rage or a Rival Turf, Final Fight, a 2D side-scrolling retro-inspired beat-em-up essentially. So if you like that kind of thing, you might want to check this out. So yeah, I think I paid around about sort of $60 for it. Of course, you look on eBay now and people are asking for twice that. Whether they're going to get it or not, I don't know. And that's the other thing about limited run. You do have that what's it called, the fear of missing out, FOMO, because if you want to buy it in the future, then the chances are you're going to have to probably pay double the amount on eBay. So sometimes it's worth just going, oh bloody hell, there you go, there's your $60 then, or whatever it is, or more in some cases. And I do have a few limited run games coming actually that I ordered before 6 months ago, so this is the thing. And they were more than $65, believe you me. But I don't buy everything, obviously. It's just games that I like the look of. I'm not one of those who just buys every limited run game. That's not my game at all. So that's that. Let's have a quick swig again. And then we'll move on to the last two PlayStation 1 games. Or just PlayStation. And then there's a peripheral at the end. And then that'll be it for this vid. So first up, let's start with this one. This looks really interesting. I've briefly played it. I.e. for like 10 minutes just to see if the game worked basically. Why wouldn't it? But I guess, well, because it's a scratch disc, or if it was, then that would prevent it from working. So it does work, thankfully. So it's called XCOM Terror from the Deep. So it's a sequel essentially to XCOM Enemy Unknown. And it's, very in-depth. It really surprised me. As I say, I just stuck it on for like 10 minutes. Just have a little bit, navigate around the menus, started the game without reading the manual, because it's a chunky one as well, as you can see. I know being a European game, there's a few different languages in there, of course, but nonetheless, English is still a sizable portion of that manual. So, very in-depth, a lot more than I thought it would be. And the thing is with these games is they're obviously best suited to a mouse. Now, it does say on the back as well, mouse compatible. I love these colours as well, the contrast of the kind of aqua blues. So, but I will try it on the controller, properly get into the game. But really, this is one of the reasons why I bought a PC about a year ago. It's when I play games, and I didn't buy it just to play games. I got a PC for all reasons, of course, but one of the reasons I got it was for playing these kind of strategy games essentially, because playing them with a mouse and a keyboard, as you'll know, that it's just the best way to play it. So never say never to buying a PlayStation mouse in the future, but I think I'll stick to this one with a controller. So yeah, really looking forward to getting into it. It looks really good. Now, I remember many years ago now, Owen, Labossu77 did a gameplay. I featured on that as one of the characters and of XCOM Enemy Unknown, and I think he did say at the time, maybe recently as well, I might be making that up as well, but I'm sure he's gonna maybe, or he plans, ideally, maybe, on making a sequel to that gameplay, but with this game. And so Owen, if you're watching, I'd like to be on that game as well, please, if you don't mind. Make the character cross over. But I don't know how many characters from that original version are still knocking around on YouTube, because it was basically a team of YouTubers, and maybe some of them are not around anymore. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, so I'm looking forward to giving this a go, and I don't have Enemy Unknown, but I do want to get it. I've been checking it out in more recent times, the last sort of 6-7 months or something, maybe a bit longer. It's not that expensive, but it's one of those games where it's like kind of 30-40 quid, and you're thinking, I want it, but there's priorities that I'd rather get. So, and this I bought from a seller in America. I can't remember, unfortunately, how much it was, but it was stupidly cheap. Like maybe sort of $15 or something. Because, believe you me, this doesn't always happen. It depends on the rarity of the game, of course. But usually for PAL games in America, there's a much limited audience because of compatibility issues. So generally, you can get a really good deal. But if it's a rare game, then you make no mistake about it. Then it'll go for what it usually goes for in the UK over here as well, even if it's an American buyer, because rare games are rare games wherever, aren't they? So that's that. And then last but not least, and I've been playing this game quite a lot, and I just adore this game. It is so good. If you've got a PlayStation, you have to have it. And yeah, what more can I say? It's Doom, and it's the double-cased version, dual case here. And obviously comes with CD, as you'd expect, the instructions, as you'd probably also expect, and my little handwritten note there of my codes as I progressed through the game, old school, writing it down. And what it also came with, it didn't actually say this in the item description, maybe the seller didn't realise, or just didn't care, but it comes with Formula 1 97, with the instructions and the disc as well. A game I had back in the day, and I really liked it back then. It's probably aged horrendously now, but I'm really looking forward to trying that. But yeah, Doom itself is, oh my goodness, what an amazing game. Now, if I'm going to play Doom, and we're even talking the modern versions, if you give me the choice and say, Alex, right, I'm going to let you play Doom, very nice of you, thank you, which version do you want to play? I'm going to choose this every day of the week. It's amazing. It still holds up really well. Now, all right, with the controls, with the strafing, with the shoulder buttons on the PlayStation controller, it can be a little bit tricky. But again, you acclimatise, you soon get used to it. And I've just been absolutely loving it. The enemies are great. The lighting is fantastic. I'll touch upon that in a second. It's very dark as well, even though I just said lighting. But again, bear with me. Very dark in places and foreboding, that kind of atmosphere. You know, it's quite tense. And it's genuinely, and I feel a bit embarrassed saying this, it's genuinely made me jump a couple of times. You know, when you're going down like a dark corridor and you see in the corner some flickering light, and it's like, well, do I go down there? Is there anything there? And sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. The amount of secrets to unlock is insane. I thought I covered whatever level I was on, like completely, like with a fine tooth comb. And it got to the end of the level, you know, where it gives you your stats. And it said something like, you discovered 20% of the secrets. And I'm like, what? Well, I went everywhere. Well, obviously not. But it's stuff like that I love. Old school, like developers really taking pride in their game, hiding secrets in games, unlockables and all that kind of stuff. Very much pre-DLC. And I don't mind DLC, to be fair, if, in my opinion at least, if it's charged correctly and it's cheap enough, and crucially, that I don't feel at least that it was removed from the game in order to sell at a profit. If I've enjoyed the experience and they're offering additional content, then I don't mind that at all. I think DLC can be a good thing. But yeah, this game is absolutely amazing. And the other thing that blows me away, again, we'll touch upon the lighting now. But first, before I get to that, it's the fact that it comes on CDs. Now, you're probably thinking, well, yeah. And CDs on games were before the PlayStation. We had the Mega CD, the Atari Jaguar, I guess. That would have been before the PlayStation 1. The 3DO. There's probably others. But for me, this was the first one that I embraced. You know, I got a PlayStation in 1995, Christmas of 95. It came out in September in the UK. I got mine at Christmas. And I just remember putting the first few games on, Loaded, Destruction Derby, FIFA 96, and just the fact that these games had, you know, CD quality music, full songs by proper bands, commentary as it seemed at the time on FIFA. It's rubbish now. It's obviously come on leaps and bounds since. But it just seemed amazing. It blew me away because I was coming from 16-bit consoles and computers. And alright, we had the odd bit of sort of sampled speech and music here and there, but it was nothing like this, like proper bands, like Chemical Brothers on Loaded, on, what's it called? Wipeout. It's just amazing stuff for me and my friends. We couldn't believe it. So, and again, speaking of Loaded and speaking of lighting, It's amazing in this game, but on Loaded, it takes me again back to 1995, that Christmas sort of period, and playing Loaded on my PlayStation 1, and the lighting effects on that very first level in particular, it's the prison level, and I could just replay that for hours with that music going on in the background. The soundtrack was just absolutely incredible, and the lighting, the effects, the neon blasts of the gun, like the reflections, you know, of like, I can just picture in my mind now, like the greens, the blues, the red, yellow, all the colours really. It just looked absolutely stunning. So yeah, I'm always gonna be blown away by the PlayStation 1. It just impresses me, because like I say, it takes me back to that time of seeing it for the very first time, and we'd never had things like that before. You know, the quality of the music, the lighting effects, the speech, the narration on games, Discworld. You know, the games were talking to you essentially. And alright, it had been around a little bit, but not really mainstream. And the PlayStation just broke down so many barriers and boundaries, and it made gaming acceptable. And it kind of got rid of that sort of nerd, sort of bedroom geek, you know, stereotype, I guess, of a gamer. So yeah, I'll always be fond of the PlayStation. And Doom is just an amazing game. You've got to get it. Now, one more thing to show. Just have a quick swig again. So I picked up a peripheral for a console I don't own, and I'm sure I'll get it eventually, but I can use this peripheral on the PC. And it's a controller, and it's a controller for the Xbox Series X. And I love this. I'm going to make no bones about this. I'm just going to throw all my cards on the table, all my games here on the table, and I'm going to say, I don't care what anyone says, this is a thing of beauty. So I'll show you the box, and I'll show you the actual controller. And it's, don't laugh, it's the Forza Horizon 5 Xbox One, or Series X, whatever it's called these days, controller, and it looks absolutely amazing. Now, let me give you a closer view. There it is in all its glory. This is absolutely amazing. How can you not like that? If you're looking at this now going, Alex, that is rubbish. It isn't. You're wrong. Buy one. So, yeah, and I love the back as well. Now, these are really kind of rubberized, as are the triggers. Kind of slightly rubber and plastic. It's a strange sort of combination, but very comfortable. And then, if you can hear that, of course, those are just the standard kind of triggers with slight ridges on. But yeah, very, very comfortable. And then the front, of course, you've got, well, the usual buttons, but all in that kind of very late 80s and early 90s design with bright, illuminous colours. It just reminds me of that era, going back to the late 80s and the early 90s. Does anyone remember those like heat-sensitive T-shirts that would kind of warm up, and the different patterns would come onto the T-shirt? Invariably these colours as well, or Bermuda shorts and neon socks, illuminous kind of socks, fluorescent ones, which were all the rage at the time. And I absolutely, I love those days. I mean, it's cheesy, of course, when we look back, but yeah, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, very much fond of this controller, and I can use it on the PC, but I would like to use it on the Xbox when I buy it in the future, and I will do. But right now, for me, there's just not enough out there which warrants a purchase. Plus, they're still hard to get. Can you believe that? A year and a bit later, Xbox Series X's and PlayStation 5s are a nightmare to buy in the shops. They just are. So, of course, the best way of doing it is online, but getting there straight away. Because if not, then you're going to have to resort to eBay and, of course, scalpers, paying $200, $300, $400 more. It's just a scandal. It is. It's the most ridiculous console launch in history. But it is what it is. And they can't say, really, oh, it's because of the pandemic. That's partially the reason. But really, this scalper business has been going on for years with the Wii, the Wii U. This has been going on for a long, long time. So they should have been prepared. But it is what it is. Eventually, they will be more widely available. But if you want one, then you're going to have to wait, really, for most of us anyway. But to be honest, as it happens, I've got my PC. And I kind of enjoy that. I don't play too many modern AAA games, but every now and again I do. And if I want to, then the PC's technically better than an Xbox and a PS5. So I'm kind of covered. But sometimes it's nice, isn't it, just to sit back on the couch, have a controller in your hand with a console. It's that different kind of experience than sitting at a screen, you know, with a computer and a keyboard and all that kind of stuff. So I will get one eventually, but there's absolutely no rush. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. 40 minutes, the best part of maybe, well, just actually a little bit over. So yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you for sticking with the channel. especially the older subscribers, and to any new people watching, thinking of subscribing, well, feel free, of course. I'll try and be regular. That's my almost promise. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Until my next vid, take it easy.